And now, we would like to take you to the future and show you how EUROSAI will act in the next 1,000 years. Enjoy.
Greetings from the future. We're back in time to tell you about EUROSAI in 1,000 years. You will be happy to know that, like you, we also managed to improve the world, but it is a completely different world. So fasten your seat belts, unleash your imagination, and let's go. New artificial intelligence tools allow us to improve the audit process and make it faster, effective, and more relevant. No wonder that this year we published 350 million reports with 1 billion findings and recommendations and conducted 10 million peer reviews. A new European record. We promote professional cooperation between Europe's supreme audit institutions in all 500 official languages of the organization. Oh, in your time there were only 5 official languages. Odd. European auditors benefit from access to intergalactic databases that enable in-depth analysis not only of data from Earth, but from 70 billion other stars. The SAI from the Orion Galaxy is a bit messed up. We are lucky to have the EUROSAI Secretariat to help them get things in order. Today, the auditors come from a variety of fields: Digimors, Robolunars, and... Oh, I apologize. I completely forgot that these professions do not yet exist in your century. Thanks to your effective work in the report on the future labor market, the unemployment rate in the world is close to 0. Implementation of your recommendations enabled us to eradicate pandemics once and for all. The AIFYI methodology that was developed by EUROSAI enables every person in the 31st century to receive a tailor-made relevant data from the audit reports. And just so you know, we learn a lot from your parallel audits too. The climate crisis is resolved, the cyber risks are under control, and our senior citizens enjoy an active life and better health. Yes, me too. I will celebrate my 150th birthday next week. I look younger, don't I? In our time, they say 150 is the new 30. So as you have seen, Europe is in good hands. Thank you for the excellent work that touches every area of our lives. Bravo Europe! Bravo EUROSAI!
That was crazy. As you already know, the main theme of the 12th Congress deals with innovation in SAI activity. So, I believe this is the perfect occasion to introduce my colleague from the future. Hope she won't replace me. My AI colleagues, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As we gather here today, our focus is on the future landscape of state audits, particularly envisioning the dynamics set to unfold by the year 2030. It is with great pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to our distinguished panel members. Mr. Tony Murphy, President of the European Court of Auditors. Mr. Gareth Davies, the Comptroller and Auditor General of Great Britain. And Mr. Matanyahu Englman, the incoming EUROSAI President and State Comptroller and Ombudsman of Israel. We are also pleased to introduce a new face to our esteemed gathering, a State Comptroller whose debut appearance at the EUROSAI Congress marks a significant milestone. Allow me to begin our discussion by posing the first question to Mr. Murphy. Could you share a pivotal insight from your experience that you believe is crucial for shaping the landscape of state audit in 2030?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to extend my congratulations to President Engelman, and also to thank Miroslav Kala for the last 3 years and all the efforts that he undertook. First of all, I'm happy that President Engelman asked me to reflect on this question. I'm happy that the question I was posed was only related to 2030 and not the 1,000 years in the video. I think there will be some other panelists who will be probably more specific than me, because mine is a very, I think I will try and give some general insights, and they will probably be more specific because I think their questions are more specific in that regard. So I think we've already seen yesterday, throughout the Congress, that the focus is on IT, the challenges ahead, the thematic areas, the use of the climate scanner. And then indeed there, just a moment ago, the President Engelman presented the results of the internal scan, which also shows that, EUROSAI and SAIs are proactively thinking about the challenges ahead. I think we shouldn't be afraid. I mean, obviously, challenge and change is different, but I mean, we have to adapt to a changing environment. So as I said, I mean, we see obviously that the advent of AI, has already begun to revolutionize our field, I think. And these technologies will enable us to process and analyze vast amounts of data far more efficiently and accurately than ever before. So by automating routine tasks, the hope is that our auditors will focus on more complex and strategic areas. So ultimately, that this will enhance the depth and breadth of our audits. And while I believe that AI will indeed be a transformative technology, it will not replace the critical thinking and professional judgment of our auditors. So I think, just as a reassurance, I think that there is a future for state audit beyond 2030, just to reassure all of us, because I think we don't want to be replaced, as the presenter said she didn't want to be replaced by the AI presenter. So our vision in the ECA is to basically to leverage AI, that will assist our staff, augment their capabilities, and ultimately drive greater accountability, transparency, and trust, which was also a common theme throughout the presentations yesterday. And I think it's imperative that we, continue to uphold the highest ethical standards in the deployment and the use of AI systems, safeguarding against biases and remaining faithful to our core values. So again, I think I already mentioned transparency. I think this is a core value for us as SAIs. And as we leverage these technological tools, it's imperative that we can explain how we support our specific conclusions. So this transparency is critical for maintaining the trust of the public and stakeholders. For example, we must develop robust frameworks and guidelines that govern the use of AI, ensuring these systems are auditable and their decisions understandable. So obviously this will have ramifications for our staff and the skill set that our staff will need. So I think, again, in the challenges I seen presented by President Engelman, there was, professional training, etc. And I think we will have to adapt, and our auditors will have to adapt to changing approaches using different tools. So I think this will be a big challenge and will require an investment on our part. So I think we have to probably plan properly ahead that we're ready for when these technological changes happen. However, I think we have seen, at least, in public sector, we tend to lag a little bit behind the private sector. So in that regard, we are having issues in advancing even with digital audit. Because our auditees are not ready, basically. They haven't got the data in a structured format. They don't have systems which are auditable using different audit IT tools. So far, we have faced obstacles in terms of advancing very much with IT audit, but I think AI will be a game changer, and I think we have to be ready and already start preparing for that. And I think the internal scan, etc., shows that EUROSAI and Insight they're not waiting on things to overtake them, that they're actually being proactive and trying to anticipate the changes in advance. I think we all are working in the public sector environment now. We know the challenges facing our governments in terms of the EU budget is the same. It's funded from the different national EU member states. So there are constraints on budgets everywhere now. So I think no question that, we can't just stand still. We will have to adapt, and we will have to produce more with less, in a way. We will be required to deliver, increasing, additional expectations, I think, will be put on us, but the resources will be limited. So this is why technological change has to be used and maximized to the hilt, because I think otherwise we will fall behind in terms of the quality and quantity of products that we can deliver. I think we have seen, compliance audit was our key, requirement under the Maastricht Treaty, but obviously now there's much more focus on performance audit. Stakeholders want to know what has happened to money, not just that the rules have been followed. And I see this becoming more and more we are going into policy areas that we were never in before, as was mentioned, climate. You know, we will have to do defense, security, all these areas. So I think that the audit landscape or the audit universe is also changing. So we have not only new tools, we also have new topics which are new to our auditors, and again will require training and change. We've also seen more demands, again, possibly lagging in the public sector in terms of sustainability reporting, which is a requirement or will be a requirement in the private sector. And I'm sure that this will follow for us in the public sector as well. So this will be additional reporting that we will have to do. But I think in general for our products, I think we have to really think about where we're going in terms of I mean, you know, we have to be creative about what we're producing, because from my perspective, our reports are too long. The attention span of people now is extremely short. They're not interested in reading 60, 70 pages of technical detail. They just want to know very short. The attention span has to be, you have to get the message across in a few bullet points, or else the audience is lost. So I think, again, we will have to be creative and adapt in that regard. As I say, I think the other participants will possibly go into things in more detail. But just to conclude, I think, you know, that the future of state audit in 2030 will be significantly shaped by the integration of advanced technologies such as AI and data analytics. These tools will enable us, I hope, to conduct more efficient, thorough and insightful audits, but will not replace, as I said, the critical judgment and thinking. We must approach this integration thoughtfully, ensuring transparency, continuous professional development for our auditors, and robust frameworks. We will likely face a stronger focus on performance and sustainability reporting, but most importantly, we must uphold the principles of transparency and accountability and independence to maintain public trust and integrity of our work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy, for your valuable perspective. Now, turning to Mr. Davies. What emerging skills do you foresee as essential for auditors as we look ahead into the future?
Thousand years into the future, and it made me think, because in the UK we are working on our next 5-year strategy for the Audit Office, that we haven't been ambitious enough. So we'll be going back and challenging the degree of ambition, because although we probably overestimate how much we can achieve in the next year, I think we often underestimate what we can do in the next 5 years, let alone the next 1,000 years. So we'll be going back with a new sense of ambition to our strategic planning. On the question of skills, and Tony Murphy's already covered a couple of these points, but I think there are three things to think about for skills for the future for state audit. Number one, professional technical skills, and you'd expect me to say a bit about that. Number two, softer skills, because I think how we do our work is going to be just as important as the technical detail of that work. If we're going to have an impact, if we're going to persuade policymakers, legislators of the force of our findings, we need soft skills to do that. And then finally, a point about teams, because skills is not just about individual auditors. We make an impact by working in teams, and I wanted to say something about that too. So firstly, on technical skills, some of these are really obvious and have been covered. The next phase of all of our work is going to be dominated by digital change, artificial intelligence, data analytics, and we've been talking about these things for some time. We've been working on them together in EUROSAI, but over the next few years, these tools are becoming very powerful and in common use in our audited bodies as well as our audit offices. And I think that's a very exciting phase we're moving into. We can really use these tools in practice and make a difference, but that does have significant implications for our skills. The key point here, I think, is that we all have to be humble enough to say that our own skills will need upgrading as much as our teams. And one of the plans we have in the UK is for the entire leadership team of the National Audit Office to go through an upskilling program for digital skills to make sure that we not only understand the work that our teams are doing, but that we're able to make good strategic decisions about investment in technology and work planning. And I don't believe we can make good decisions unless we understand enough about technological developments that we're discussing. That doesn't mean we will become data experts, but it does mean we need to have a higher level of skills than we currently have. Those of us who did our audit training 30 or 40 years ago. The other set of really important technical skills I think to mention are environmental auditing and sustainability reporting. This is coming very quickly in the private sector and the public sector now, and we are going to need to understand the risks to accurate reporting of carbon reports. I think carbon reports become just as important as financial reports to our state bodies as they are doing in the private sector. And we are going to need the skills to understand the risks to misstatement, what's called greenwashing, and how we avoid signing off carbon reports that are misstated. I think that's going to be a really important area of technical development and skills development for all our staff. And then on soft skills, as I say, we're going to need to be able to have an impact, then we want to be able to influence. So our communication skills, both in writing and in person, are crucial. As Tony Murphy said, we're going to need to write in different ways. We will still need the evidence base in our reports, but we do need to work on summaries that can be read on a mobile phone, because that's how most people will be accessing our information. So I don't know how many of us already think that our reports work really well on a mobile phone. I know mine don't yet, and we have more development work to do there. And that takes a set of skills on our communications teams. Then individually, how do we influence legislators, people running public services to take our findings seriously? And that means having an engaging work style rather than issuing an audit report because that's our legal power. We need to persuade alongside that. So working on our recommendations with our audited bodies, making sure that they can be implemented effectively, and they get the buy-in of the people we're trying to influence. And then finally, teams. We can't produce all the skills we need in a single person. That was never true, and it won't be true in the future. So we need to think really hard about how do we create teams that have the skills we need for making an impact. And that will include not just our teams of our own staff, but how do we access skills from outside our organizations where they're too specialist, we only need them occasionally, but we can't afford to do without them completely. And I think there's some really interesting questions about how we work with outside experts to make sure that our work has the credibility and impact that it needs to make a difference. So a few thoughts on the skills thinking that we're doing here in the UK. I hope that's relevant to colleagues thinking across EUROSAI, and look forward to working with you on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davies, for addressing these key challenges. Next, let's shift our attention to Mr. Englman. How do you envision the integration of artificial intelligence affecting the realm of state audit in 2030?
So thank you very much for the question, and thank you also for Tony and Gareth for their answers previously. I would like to share with you a very short presentation regarding the issue of AI. First of all, we should, please go to the next slide. First of all, we should be aware that AI is here, even I would say big time. You can see here how quickly ChatGPT arrived to hundreds of millions of users. It took them only 2 months. If you compare it into any other application, it's like generation change. Please go to the next slide. So it's here, and we have to face it. I would focus on 2 areas in my comment. One of them is the impact on audit work, and the other one relate to the impact on areas of audit and audited bodies. If I go to the impact on audit work, I would say that we have few challenges. One of them is of course, increasing our effectiveness and accuracy. AI integration will streamline audit processes and enable us to increase our efficiency. Automation will reduce the time and resources required for audits while minimizing errors, leading to higher accuracy and reliability in our audit outcome. Of course, we have to train our workers and our employees, like Gareth just mentioned, to use AI tools. The other item relates to the issue of advanced data analysis. AI-powered analysis will enable auditors to develop deeper into information transaction compliance issues and operational efficiencies. I would like to share with you one example from our office. We have executed an IT report regarding our national election process. As part of it, the team of the audit took all the relevant real-time and online results of votes all over Israel, and it checked whether there are some suspicious places where votes were not done correctly. How they have done it? By data analysis, to see the percentage of people voting, and also to see not only percentage, also what were the results of the voting. After finalizing this analysis, we submitted real-time to the judge that control all the process of voting in Israel, some suspicious sites of voting that we found out due to this analysis, and the police checked it and he checked it, and eventually it also influenced the results, because there were 7 days between they received the raw data material until they announced about the votes. And this was beside our full comprehensive IT report, but by using very advanced data analysis, we could have done a very good real-time audit process. Once again, following the previous example I gave you, this will enable us much more to be involved in real-time monitoring and fraud detections. Still, we have to look what are our roles as auditors versus the roles of course, the audited bodies and other structures of control and internal control, but still it can give us a lot of power to in our audit impact and audit work. And the last item I would like to relate is enhancing risk management. AI-driven risk assessment models will enable auditors to assess risks comprehensively and develop proactive mitigation strategies. Now I'll go to the second impact, the impact on areas of audit and audited bodies. Please go to the next slide. The first one will be, of course, I think there is, from the audited bodies, it will, of course, improve compliance and regulatory adherence. AI-driven compliance monitoring tools will facilitate ongoing assessment of regulatory requirements by the audit bodies. It will also empower decision-making. AI-powered decision support tools will enable the audited bodies also to make data-driven decisions based on actionable insights. The third item relates to increasing the transparency and accountability. AI integration will enhance transparency in audit processes, but not only, also within audited bodies and other public bodies. And I believe it can assist a lot in optimizing resource allocation by using AI-driven analytics, and this will assist resource allocation within public sector, but also it can assist us in our audit process. And I would like to refer to the last slide that will show up, and please go to the next slide, the risk associated with AI tools, and we should be, I think, very aware of them. and we should focus when we are doing those kind of AI audits about the preparedness of the audited bodies and the public sector to those risks. The first one is regulatory framework, ensuring that AI tools comply with existing regulation and standards. Then there is the issue of checking by ourselves the preparedness of our governments and the national infrastructure needed in order to advance AI within our countries. The third one relates to the major impact that might be on the labor market, potential job displacement and changes in skill requirements due to the usage of AI. The fourth one will relate to difficulty in criticizing AI-based process, the issue of black box. How can we as auditor look at result that went through AI process? And how can government and other public bodies can rely on AI tools? Then I would also look into issues of spread of misinformation. This is, I think, a major risk by using AI tools. Imagine for yourself that your prime minister or even any other minister in your government is being quoted this way or another way, and you have just seen the AI lady that is running this session. Further to me, next to me, you'll see the AI auditor, I'm sorry. So it is very risky, and we should be aware of it. And sometimes it's a very dangerous weapon and tool against especially democratic countries. The other two items I would like to raise is the risk about autonomic weapons and the usage of AI related to those weapons and used by terrorist groups or other organized crime. And the last one is the issue of social discrimination. AI algorithm may cause social discrimination installed within them and that are being run by eventually private companies. So after I shared with you all of those risks, I think we have major role as state auditors to look about the preparedness of our public bodies to those risks, and also take into consideration those risks when we are using methodology of AI tools. Please go to the next slide. We are currently in Israel engaged in leading a parallel audit within EUROSAI relates to AI issues. In our group, we already have a representative from France, Italy, Switzerland, Estonia, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, North Macedonia, Iceland, and Romania, and we'll be very happy to share it with also other members of EUROSAI. In summary, the integration of AI into audit processes will bring numerous benefits, but also possess significant risks that must be carefully managed and addressed by us as state auditors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Englman. On a related note, it is a great privilege to introduce a groundbreaking addition to our panel. The world's first artificial intelligence-based state comptroller, Mrs. EUROSAI. We are honored to have you with us. As we delve into the complexities of the future, the proliferation of cyber threats poses a significant challenge to governments worldwide. In light of this, how can state audit institutions contribute to strengthening national defenses against such threats?
The influence of advanced technologies continues to grow, while the prevalence and severity of cyber threats are also on the rise. Over the past decade, the world has seen a surge in cyber attacks targeting organizations and individuals, with billions of sensitive records compromised annually. These attacks jeopardize critical infrastructure and undermine the fundamental functioning of states across various sectors including security, healthcare, transportation, and education. In response, audited bodies must promptly and decisively address identified vulnerabilities and strengthen protective measures to mitigate the risks of cyber attacks. Furthermore, as technological advancements continue to accelerate, it is crucial that audit institutions adapt their methodologies and capabilities to effectively navigate the evolving landscape of cyber threats.
Thank you, Mrs. AI. At this juncture, it is customary to invite questions from the audience. Please feel free to pose any queries you may have. While we are currently in the year 2024 and may not possess complete knowledge of the future landscape, I am confident that through the collaborative efforts of EUROSAI members, we can collectively explore and devise solutions to any challenges that may arise. Thank you.
So thank you to all panel members and especially to Ms. EUROSAI for her presentation, and of course to my colleagues. If there are any questions from the audience, we'll be very happy to answer a few of them. So please raise your hands and let us know if you have any question.